This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
We are coming to you live from the grassy knolls of Trump's Keep Mar-a-Lago safe house. Yeah, that didn't come out very well like I thought it would, but we are still live, motherfuckers. Here we bring you the Nerdy Manroom show with your host, Hassel and Monster. How we doing, Monster?
We're good. We're live on location. I almost put a Cobra symbol behind me just for the heck of it to mess with you, but I've been so busy this week I didn't have time to download it until just now, and I was like, I don't have enough time now.
All you had to do was just take that off, and you'd have the banners there anyways. You know, you're at the cover retreat.
No, I can guarantee you, if I turn this off, you're just seeing the beige hotel room, and let's see, there's a green chair behind me and a lamp, so you'll see those. Classic. I got the king size room this time, so I got a little chair to sit in, and it's not the most comfortable at all, but hey, it's there.
Cobra spares no expense.
Yeah, they spare plenty of expense, usually at my expense. So with that, we do have a packed show this week. We've got a special guest coming on, Mr. Wes Hartman, the author of Savage Sasqanaut, and I will eventually get that out right. But I'm gonna let him say it at least once, so I can say it right after that.
Oh yeah, I've got to ask him. Are we pronouncing it right? Because I've been butchering it for about 2 weeks now.
Yeah, but before we get to that, let's take a minute and thank our sponsors, These On Collectibles. You can find them on the internet at theseoncollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at These On Collectibles, or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs, from comics to Legos, trading cards, toys, games, and more. Help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And while we're here, before we jump ahead, we do want to take a moment. One of the founding members of our sponsors, Mr. Kevin Clady's, has some different things going on. So we would like to, while we don't want to bring the tone of the show down, we do want to take a minute and say, everybody out there, if you can, and you send prayers, well wishes for him as he works through some personal issues, and hopefully that resolves itself soon, and he's back to full. But until then, we just want to make sure we put that out there.
He's still full of piss and vinegar. I talked to him last night for about an hour and a half. So yeah, he's still fighting the good fight and very positive.
Which is a great thing, but we do want to ask everybody, just keep him in your thoughts as he works through all of his personal issues. And with that, Hassel, I think we're ready to move ahead. Before we get to our focus topic, we were not necessarily going to do a full Geek Week this week. I've been on location since the last time we recorded, and my hands have been full. And Hassel, I know you've had a lot going on, but a couple of things we did want to hit on. I don't know if we could really, maybe we'll just call them breaking news, and we'll hit on some of these. Hassel, you have been tearing it up with the WWE 2K23, right?
Man, I have. My family is sick of this game at this point because I'm a creator. I don't create my own shit. I steal off creator, content, and then I, utilize them and put them how I want them. I tweak them or whatever. So I've been trying to get my game back set up the way 22 was, and trying to find, the creator wrestlers and all this thing. So I've just been slaying this game, and then of course you have a lot of the same repeat characters from last year, so a lot the roster is pretty much dead identical. Like I did notice Ric Flair's not on there. He's like the first one that stood out to me as not being there was Ric Flair, and I just noticed that like yesterday actually. So Flair isn't there, but for the most part everybody else is. So a couple of them, like Shawn Michaels, I don't like was it 02 or 03 attire where he's got the pants. I'm not a fan of that. So I always instantly make another attire, giving him the classic Heartbreak Kid, outfits. And a few others like Razor and, various ones I kind of tweak or whatever, give them what I want. But so I've been dead on that right there. I think my wife hates that little sound it makes when you're going through selecting shit.
Yeah.
She hates that worse than anything. I'll hear the bedroom door close, and I know at that point she's already aggravated with it. So I've done that. And aside from that, the only thing I did is Monday I did unbox the Super 7 Ultimates Cobra Commander, the Bat, Bluegrass, Steel Wheel, Monstar, and the Transformation Chair. So matter of fact, I just got through recording a review for that'll be up shortly. So, there that is.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't had time to do much myself at all, but I did get a chance because it was only like a minute and a half to 2 minutes long, and check out this the trailer for the Power Rangers Once and Always special, the 30-year anniversary special. And we just wanted to touch on that for a minute because Hassel, I don't know how you felt about it. We haven't had a chance to talk, but man, I gotta say I was extremely impressed by it.
It hit all the notes. It give you the bells and whistles, and it was Nostalgia City. And I don't know why. Instead of wanting to go dan da dan da dan, I was wanting to sing Zio for some reason. I wanted more power than before. I guess because like the Rita character is very King Kong-esque looking.
Yeah, the Machine Empire look that they gave her.
Which I like that. I mean, it's a good way because unfortunately the actress that on screen portrayed her has passed away. The voice actor is still alive, and she's back. I understand, but so it's cool, and you can continue further with that. I mean, that's pretty legit.
And it works out too because if you see, she says, hey, I found a new body or whatever. So it kind of makes you think when they were destroyed in space, when all the evil was destroyed, maybe it wasn't fully destroyed, but it was flushed out of that human body she was in. So now she's found something to inhabit. But
well, what's the old horror line? Evil never dies; it just transcends. Yeah. I mean, so she's finally found a new form, and I'm a fan of it. I mean, I actually dig this a lot more than I did the old school Rita myself.
Yeah, but I got to give them credit, man. The first of all, the cinematography, the colors were popping on there. I mean, it was very bright. It did not look campy. It looked much more higher production quality, and you could tell this was made for an adult market because of its 30th anniversary. But also the fact that they used the term that somebody was killed. They have never said kill a single time in Power Rangers. Even though they've killed Rangers off and brought them back, it's always been destroyed or missing or whatever. They've never killed anybody, and they flat out say it. And I was like, wow, that's a step.
And it is pretty brilliant to bring on, Trini's daughter as the missing, piece right there. That's real cool. The only thing that I had mildly negative at all, Rocky looks his age. The rest of them aged pretty well and still look pretty good. But I don't know what it is. Rocky has that youth pastor Spider-Man vibe going. As he's standing there, one of those pictures.
I didn't mind that, and I've seen people who were like looking for Easter eggs, and they slow the stills down of when they teleport in, and they actually show that he's actually wearing like a firefighter t-shirt, like he's a firefighter or something like that. So
that makes sense.
Carrying on those characters as being heroes and stuff like that, that's pretty cool. But man, the thing that got me the most was the slow play of the theme song. Yeah, man, that hits you in the nostalgia feels hard, especially when they're talking about, she killed my mom, and then they play that music. It's like, wow, that almost made me want to get emotional.
And I like how they're kind of making it where Zach and Billy get to be the focus of this right here. They get to take front stage. They haven't been able to do this in the past. Other stars have come back and they take front. And you would almost expect if you were bringing back the original crew that somehow, some way, Jason or Tommy, if he were still alive, was going to take the center. So the fact that they are is really great. And I love the line where Zach goes, "It's okay, we've saved the world before." Like he's trying to reassure them.
And did you see the scene where they're in Ernie's juice bar too? And they're like, "This is the last place you should have invaded," or whatever. I was like, wow, this is much more hardcore than they've ever been about anything before, which was really interesting to see.
Well, it's Netflix and it's straight to Netflix, so I'm hoping they maybe get away with a few things there, and they're probably testing the waters to see how well a little more mature Rangers goes. I mean, I'm sure we're never gonna get the cast back, on a full-time basis, but they're testing the boundaries, I would think, for future projects.
And with everybody they did bring back, there are several people they couldn't. So I hope that while we know the show is kind of a tribute to Trini's character because she had passed before they shot it, so it's kind of centered around that some. But I'm hoping they do at the end, at least if they do a shout out to all the others, because you've got Jason Frank, who's no longer there. You've got the physical actress for Rita Repulsa, who is no longer alive. Richard Janelli, who played Ernie. has passed away. Robert Axelrod, Lord Zed. I'd like to see him do at least a thank you or something at the end of it for all of them, and maybe even a slideshow or something as the end credits.
So let me ask you this. We know there is a Green Ranger in this, and unfortunately, Jason David Frank is no longer with us. Do we get him with maybe a little voiceover, or do you think this is where somehow, some way they use Adam in that Green Ranger spot? They've been very, very careful about how they show. They've shown him in action, but they have not shown him without a helmet.
Yeah,
so I'm almost wondering if it's not a twist.
Well, there's time travel component to this too, right? They talked about it in the trailer. And is this in the past? Is this current? Is this where they go back in time and they're all the Rangers are in together? Because maybe when they go back, it's only those 4 that they've shown without the helmets. But either way, I have seen reports that both Aisha and Adam's character, they both said that as they shot the show, they actually did not have any physical fighting scenes and stuff. So I'm assuming that they are not taking over for any Rangers.
Are they members of Time Force? Is that what they're doing?
Space Patrol Alpha is what it looks like, because Space Patrol Delta was the SPD season.
Yeah.
And Space Patrol Alpha would have been the precursor to them and a higher division. So I'm not real sure, but I assume something like that.
No, I was just curious. I mean, I keep seeing Adam, but you don't see him, and we already got a Black Ranger there, so you can't really. Yeah. They both can't be the Black Ranger at the same time, and obviously he wouldn't have any other powers. I wouldn't think, unless he had a Master Morpher. But so I was just curious if they were, since he was a Green Ranger in Zeo, they were going to try to somehow manipulate that.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but I am more excited to see it now than I was. I mean, I was already excited to see it, but I'm more so now, and then it's not far away because it's April 19th, so we've got about roughly a little less than a month at the time we're shooting on the 23rd here of March. So.
You would probably know this more than I. Does Austin St. John have anything to do with this?
So my understanding was, and this is all conjecture from what I've read online or seen online, was that he was approached to be in it. Because they were actually going to have everybody that they could get back. Now, I know that Amy Jo Johnson, Kimberly, said that it's not that she said no, but she did not accept the offer they put in front of her. So that one was that way. Like from what I originally read and heard, because he had actually talked about doing something for it a while back, but then he had that legal trouble. And when they did, or whatever, he was part of that whole consortium. So I think they kind of nixed him on that, because what I originally heard was that it was going to be, or read was that it was going to be all the 3 new ones as Space Patrol Alpha, and then everybody else except for Tommy, because Jason Frank said he wasn't coming back, and Amy Jo Johnson.
Yeah, he had a nasty blow up with Hasbro and I guess whoever owns the filming rights to Rangers. Because he done a Master Morpher for him, and he does the voice work, and he tells you, here, I'll make you another $2 million, and while I make peanuts, and that was their big. It was actually a pretty nasty interview out there. I don't know if you heard it or not, but it was.
I saw some of it, but not the whole thing. But that was my understanding, is that they were all going to be back, except she had said no, and Jason Frank had said no. So Catherine was always going to be the Pink Ranger in a sense. Amy Jo said no, and then the rest of them were going to be, 3 of those would be Space Patrol Alpha, and then Jason would still be the Red Ranger, which would have been cool to see, but right away that if he's the Red Ranger, then you don't get Zach saying it's morphin' time. You might still get Billy being central to the story for what it's written as, but you don't get the feature on Zach as well. I think it would be Jason and Billy would be the features probably.
That's crazy though. You haven't heard anything else about that legal trouble either. Like they made a big stink out of that initially, and then like 2 weeks later, you didn't hear nothing. It
was basically clickbait at that point. It's like, okay, he's involved in this, but then they've come out and said they're not involved, and there's an ongoing investigation to catch who all is involved, and a lot of people were just sucked into it. So, I mean, I don't know the case, and I hope that's the case for him, but because I have met him, he seems to be a pretty nice guy for the most part. But you never know what goes on in somebody's house when they leave there. So,
yeah, actors can seem genuine in front of the screen, but I mean, they're actors. I mean,
yeah. But that's all we really wanted to share this week for Geek Week. So we are going to go ahead and cut over now to the pre-recorded interview we have with Mr. Wes Hartman, and we will be back here after that to do Nerd Out and close out the show. See you soon.
Welcome, everybody. We are honored today to have comic creator extraordinaire, Mr. Wes Hartman. You may know him from a variety of companies, DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, Aspen, but we hope you know him from his creator-owned Savage Sasqanaut. And please tell me I said that correctly because I've been butchering the hell out of this for like weeks.
Sasqanaut.
Sasqanaut. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, see, he had
Well-
me thinking I was saying it wrong, and I was saying it right. when I don't stumble my words and flub it up anyway, but still, when I got it right, I was actually right.
I read the trade and read it wrong the entire time anyway, so hey. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, we're blessed to have you. We truly appreciate it. Kevin talks super highly of you, and like I said, but
we're giant comic book nerds. At least I am. Hassel is as well, but I think I probably take the cake on it from him. I read far more than he probably cares to look at most days.
Yeah.
I've read comics my whole life. I've had to lessen the amount in the last couple of years, just time and money. But yeah, they're my favorite.
So as an off the beaten path type question, well, as a child, what comics kind of drew you into the world of comics?
Well, I mean, I started Marvel, DC. You know, my first comic that I credit getting was Batman 444. Just classic Batman on a gargoyle, and at that time, I think it was one of the very rare story done in 2 issues, and I never got the next issue because it was just random. My parents took my brother to this little bookstore next to the grocery store, and I come in and like he's grabbing comics. I'm like, I want comics too. So yeah, we watched Super Friends and all that growing up. So it's like I know Batman, I know Superman. We had posters on the wall, so like hook it up. So they got me a Batman comic, and I've been hooked ever since. And my brother read for a little while, and we started in with X-Men, and shortly thereafter, Jim Lee X-Men #1 launched, and it was just like, oh man, this is crazy awesome, and just kind of kept on it from there, kept going. That was late 80s and early 90s, and just kind of done it ever since.
It's funny you say that about Super Friends, because that's actually that was one of the things that got me into comics. That my earliest memory was around 3 years old or so, watching Super Friends, and then my grandmother had the digest that DC used to put out. It was like Blue Ribbon Press or something like that was the name of it, and it had Legion of Superheroes and Superboy stories, and that's actually the first book I ever read.
Well, what's funny about that is I actually just picked this up from Walmart in the clearance area.
Oh,
man.
It's like the exact same mold of the Super Friends Superman that I still have that figure, and it's in my case over here on the wall, but I don't have the K, and you know, it's beat upside plate.
That was kind of the first thing that went for everybody's, I think. The capes were.
I had it forever, and I lost it at some point in one of the movies, and now it's like, oh man, they had that sucker on clearance for $4. I'm like, oh, I can get it with the cape. I just picked it up last week. It's gonna be put it in the case. Actually, that Superman sitting in the old Batmobile from Super Friends right now.
I have a whole shelf of those. I have almost every Justice League character except for the 4 hard to find with the Cyborg, the Golden Pharaoh, and Plastic Man and Orion. And I'm like, those are so expensive. I'm like, nah, I can't go back and buy them now. But most of these are from when I was little.
Yeah, that's what I got left from when I was a kid. I didn't have all that many of the Justice League, but Batman went missing 30 years ago. But still got Aquaman somewhere. I got Hawkman, Superman, Lex Luthor's in pieces around here with his green armor.
You know, I actually got lucky a few years ago, and I scored like several of the Kenner superpowers and several of the Secret Wars figures, and I got them like dirt cheap. So I wasn't expecting much, and they actually showed up in pristine condition because I got like Firestorm, I got the Lex Luthor that you was talking about, I got an Aquaman, then I got a Doctor Doom, Magneto, and Wolverine. The only flaw at all was Wolverine didn't have his snap-on claws. No. But they were all like tight joints. You know, the paint deco was great. I mean, I was like, pretty sweet.
Yeah, those Secret War figures we got. That was like my only Captain America figure growing up was from the Secret Wars, and we had a Daredevil, which is funny because his face was the only part that was painted along with the DD. Mm-hmm. The DD went away instantly, and then like the tip of his nose got chipped, so he had a bright red like Rudolph nose with like skin tone on his mouth. You know, it looked funny, but it's like I got Daredevil, bro.
Yeah, I kind of customized my Spider-Man because I was terrible. I had a Mr. Freeze, so all of my figures had to be frozen at some point. Obviously, you'd have to put them in the freezer for a damn hour or two to play with them later. Spider-Man, I froze him, and then afterwards, his paint started going away.
Yeah.
So I got the bright idea to get a Sharpie and make him into the black costume Spider-Man.
Nice.
That didn't work out too well. Yeah.
It's a good idea. Well, it's a valiant effort.
Mistakes were made. Let's just put it this way. So, for our followers who may have been living under a rock, why don't you just enlighten them as to some of the various works you've done in the comic industry?
Oh man, I've been doing comics for 20 years now. So I spent 13 years, my first 13 years as in production, and then eventually running production for Antarctic Press. So like I had my hand in hundreds of issues going out. So I mean everything from Gold Digger, and at Antarctic Press I helped. I started writing I Hunt Monsters, and I wrote about 12 issues of I Hunt Monsters, and then I did my first creator-owned series there, which is Sky Sharks, which I'm currently trying to kickstart to get a reprint done. And I co-wrote and helped write a couple other titles, or ghost writ some other titles in there, and all that time started working with Colored Studio Guru Effects, who was doing anything and everything for Marvel. So as part of Guru Effects, I was working with Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men, Captain America, basically every major title you can think of. We touched on it. We did the big old Shadowland event.
Mm-hmm.
To go color the Shadowland event where Daredevil became like a demon or something like that. And so I'm like, oh man, I got to do all the other characters I hadn't done. I'm like, yeah, I finally got to color Ghost Rider and Iron Fist and stuff as part of the Shadow.
That was the best part of Shadowland to me. I'm a Ghost Rider fan, so obviously, but so yeah, that was my favorite.
So I did a bunch of stuff with Marvel. And we did about 40, 50 issues of Marvel Adventure Spider-Man, or kind of was the point man on the Marvel Adventure Spider-Man coloring. And eventually I went off on my own and did more work with DC Wildstorm. Started working with them, did a bunch of licensed books. Like I did a run of Gears of War. I did the miniseries for the TV show Chuck. They did a 6-issue comic series there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did, I think called Seasons for they did a Burn Notice TV show tie-in for online exclusive. So did about 2 seasons of that, which was a weekly comic book that they did online, which is pretty cool. And then from there, they did covers for like Superman Beyond, a bunch of Authority, Authority Wildcats covers that kind of closed out the end of the Wildcats and Authority run before everything got shut down before New 52. And then from there, I went to New 52. I was doing a Legion of Superheroes reboot with Paul Levitz, and I forgot the artist. And Batman Retrospective 70s or 80s, I don't remember which year it was. So I mean, it's been all over. Outside there, I did a bunch of stuff with Aspen Comics. I've done Fathom. I did a couple volumes of Soulfire and villains for Charismatic and Dead Man Hands or No Holds Barred. Lots of things. I worked with Gene Ha at Dark Horse, and then Lion Forge for his creator on comic book May, which was really cool working with Gene. You know, he was the artist for Top 10, which is one of my favorite Alan Moore series. So it's like, oh man, I can work with Gene Ha. That was pretty exciting. And yeah, it's just kind of been working that. Been doing a lot of stuff with Billy Tucci the last few years. Did a bunch of his, basically almost all of his covers for his shoot relaunches in the last few years, and we did a bunch of covers for Dynamite together with the Shadow and Miss Fury, and then we did stuff for Valiant and Archie, and just kind of all over the map.
You've had your hands in pretty much everything.
Yeah, man, we've really done all over it. I've done several series for a publisher overseas in Europe called Paquette. The line that I was working on was kind of specializing in military aircraft stories specifically. So I did a few albums for like Vietnam All Vietnam War F4 Phantom story, got a pilot there, and then the Falkland War with an Argentinian creator, which is the first book of that got my audience choice award for best cover. So that was pretty cool. So like, yeah, it's like, oh, cool, artist choice. That's that guy, you know. And
Yeah.
just kind of all over the map, man. Just I go where the work is. I like making comics. I like making good comics and working with cool people. There's so much more guaranteed. I forgot what's my creative stuff like Savage Sasqanaut, which has been my focus the last few years. And, transitioning to start putting out some new creator-owned books and continuing Savage Sasqanaut. Just keep on doing my thing.
What kind of made you shift the gears from the mainstream into the world of Kickstarter and creator own?
It was kind of a twofold thing where the primary purpose was my wife and I had a child, and so it was, well, I can keep working crazy full-time hours trying to hit monthly deadlines, which means we don't get to hang out, or I can slow down, take care of our kid, and do that, and just kind of fit in the work I can around that. So we started doing that. I've already been working on Sasqanaut for years. And initially, I was going to release it traditionally through comic stores and regular direct market. And honestly, once I had a kid, I can't do things. This is not going to work. So
That changes your whole world, doesn't it?
yeah, so it's like, whoa, and I've been familiar with Kickstarter for a few years, and I'd supported a lot of stuff, but I was watching Jimmy Palmiotti and Brian Polito blow it up, and I was doing covers and work with Rob Michaels, who was just crushing it on Kickstarter. So I was like, man, let me try my hand at this. And I'd been a part of a couple other Kickstarters with another publisher I'd started that we operated for about a year and a half before we kind of imploded. But like, we ran a couple Kickstarters that was okay. Let me do this on my own and see what we can do. And it's been the best decision I've made. Like, I've started developing relationships with the people who buy my comic books, where it was always just kind of sight unseen random retailer who
Yeah.
no one buys it maybe. And so this is a bit more personal and personable. So, and I've happened to actually make a few friendships doing this, which has been really cool. And yeah, it's just, and actually I've actually made a little bit of money. You know, all the previous comic books that I made on my own, indie and creator owned, I've never made a dime on it. Sasqanaut was kind of costly. I was like, I'm not going to expect to make any money, but by the end of the fifth or sixth issue, I finally started pulled in enough money that I'm starting to actually make a profit from all the money I invested, because before I did issue 1, I already had issues 1 through 6 drawn, penciled and ink, so all out of pocket. So it was kind of let's see what I can do. It's been awesome.
Surely a passion of love, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I love comic books. You know, I've always had depression issues and self-esteem issues and all that stuff. And even growing up, I mean, it was never officially diagnosed, but you kind of know.
Yeah.
And it had to have those hard conversations with my folks, and I'm kind of like storm cloud at the time. When one of our conversations, I remember it distinctly, because they were just like, well, what about this? What do you think about that? That comics was the only thing during all of that versus like that made me happy. It was like, it was the only thing. And so, yeah, I like this. This is really cool. I've just been here ever since.
Yeah, unfortunately, the 80s and 90s wasn't very nurturing for people, that suffer from anxiety and depression and things. I remember, because I battled with some of them myself, and I remember I had the bright idea in the 90s I was going to be a future comic artist. And I used to draw, and Monster could tell you, I would trace and do all kind of shit all the time. And I was probably about 15 or 16. I was drawing at the table, and my dad walks by and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm drawing." Why? I said, well, I'm gonna go to school and do this when I grow up. He said, that shit don't pay the bills, and walks off. And the dude, I was like so defeated. It was just like, so it changed the young Hassel's path tremendously. So yeah, the '80s, I understand that
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't say my folks were ever super supportive of it. They were always concerned about it. I started I was doing college for graphic arts, and I started working at AP as an intern. And basically, once I started, it took a few years, but once I was able to start managing to support myself and move out of the house, they were just like, "Okay, go do what you're gonna do." You know, it has never been easy. I've put in crazy hours all the time, so it's a passion. I mean, I would not recommend it for most people. You kind of have to be a little bit out there.
Yeah, I would imagine. But I mean, it's a little easier to put those kind of hours into something you love versus I have to.
Yeah, it's you hear that saying where like, oh, you do something you love, you work a day in life. Well, that's not true. First, you do something you love, you work every day in life more than anybody else. And when you're not working, you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I imagine it's hard to cut that switch off of in creativity mode.
It is. It is. Some of it, like a lot of like my coloring now, because I've done so much coloring, that becomes almost autopilot. I can just kind of click off and go zen almost, unless it's a piece that's really giving me grief. So that's kind of good. But when it gets into writing and tweaking dialogue and just kind of trying to focus on the story, that's a different skill set. It's kind of like, why? If I play music, man, there better not be a single word in it because it'll mess with it. So it's got to be quiet or orchestral or just silent. Otherwise, I can never do it. But hey, go coloring. I can have stereo going on TV playing. Kid can be.
Yeah. So how did Savage Sasqanaut? Sasqanaut. How did this come to fruition? What brought it into your mind? I mean, this is a truly unique universe and idea. I mean, it's unlike anything else. I highly recommend it. So, how did this come to the forefront of your mind and say, "This is where I'm going"?
I wish I could say it's wholly my fault and say I came up with this amazing idea because I really can't because I was looking for music because I love listening to music while I work. And I stumbled across this stoner rock band called Low Pan. I'm like, oh man, Low Pan, that's awesome. Big Trouble in Little China, that's amazing.
Yeah, David Low Pan.
And they had this like 4-song EP called Sasqanaut. And the cover of it was like a monkey in a spacesuit. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Sasqanaut. That's a great word. And I went and listened to it. And I was like, this is pretty jamming. I like this. I think this. But the word Sasqanaut stuck with me. I was like, man, there's got to be something out there about Bigfoot in space because this is like, how can there not be? So, I mean, I spent months just randomly searching on the internet trying to find whether it's a non-short story.
Well, there you come back.
They came back. But so I don't know where to pick it up.
Yeah, literally by the time you started talking about the search of the internet, that's kind of where it kind of kicked out.
Well, so after months, maybe like 6 months of just trying to randomly find something about Bigfoot in space, it finally clicked in my head that I make comic books. I should make that because I want to read. And so then it took 2 years to get it together. I had too many different iterations. Once it finally clicked in, I was sitting in the office and probably spent about 5 minutes and banked out about 3 or 4 paragraphs, just this random what became the origin story, like all that text in the double page, triple, 3-page origin story.
Yeah.
That was what I just like wrote out in like 5 minutes. I'm like, yeah, that's ridiculous, amazing. And so I kind of just started sharing with the other guys in the office. Like, what do you think about this? And they're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I presented it at the business meeting. Okay, I got this crazy idea. Okay, well, let's put that on the schedule. Wait, what? No, you can't put that. Don't put that in Diamond Roll. We don't have a hub. I don't have drawing, and I don't really have a story. I just have this like 3 or 4 page concept idea. So I'm gonna let this throw it up before it's ready. So once I didn't let them do that, it just took years, and then I left AP and started Dark Knight Comics. I was gonna do it there. The whole thing imploded. It's just like, oh, let's do it off on my own, and we'll see what happens. And I started making it. I went through multiple iterations. There's probably 3 or 4 different versions of scripts for issue 1. But yeah, no, it's been a long time coming. It took about 10 years before I got the first issue up on Kickstarter.
Really?
Yeah, because
wow.
it was all self-funded, self-done. So the first thing he put on the side is your own personal family projects. Because that's not paying bills. So you gotta go hit whatever deadline to.
So it's very much a spare time deal.
Yeah.
Until you got it in the bag.
Yeah. And so I finished the first issue. I had all 6 issues done. And so I put the first issue up, and we'll see what happens. And honestly, the first issue would not have funded without some pretty rad support from friends and family. Like that first issue was really awesome because friends and family helped out. And issue 2, most of them didn't come back, and we kind of just scraped by. And it's like, okay, but then I feel like issue 3 is really kind of where we hit our stride with the campaign. I was like, okay, kind of like the extra support unit kind of all went. Like, all right,
continue to build steam and
go do it yourself. Don't do it at all. So unfortunately, it finally started kicking off and going. And it just kept going each campaign. So it was really, really fortunate. I was very blessed with friends and family for those first 2 campaigns, especially just making it happen because it wouldn't happen without.
So how long did the process, once you knew you were going to start trying, so how long did the process take to get issue 1 out, from where you started, aside when you got serious about it, to get it into the fans' hands?
That was probably close to about 3 years, just from because that was about when we started Guardian Knight Comics. And that was, I forgot, 2017 or so. About 2017. It was going to come out through there, and so I started really kind of trying to finalize the scripts for the story and nail down the actual artist. And there's actually what became issue 1 for the Kickstarter was initially only the first half of issue 1, where issue 1 was initially a 32-page story.
Wow.
And issue 1 was basically pages 1 through 14 of the book. And issue 2, Kickstarter was the rest of the book. And I actually had a fully drawn, colored, pencil-lead 14-page story that we did for a preview issue regarding my comics when we were launching. Like, hey, this is what I'm working on. And like, this is great, this is awesome. Then once I really started, we pinned down who was actually going to draw the series. We found an artist, Gabe Santos, was the artist, and he was one of Harvey Talabo's understudies. And Harvey, if you're unfamiliar with his work, is Green Arrow. He relaunched Green Arrow on DC 52. Did a run of Danger Girl. He did X-Men Sidelock. He just finished Star Wars Games, New Republic, Old Republic for, I think it's IDW. So he's got a studio out in the Philippines, and Harvey was the artist for one of our Guardian Night books that I helped co-create and co-write, which was Moonshore. And one of the artists in Harvey Studios ended up coming in and agreed to do it for a page rate and kind of the whole studio environment. Harvey actually laid out the book for him because this was Gabe's very first book. So Harvey did the layouts, at least the first issue, if not 6 issues. So we had, experienced pro kind of overseeing the whole book. This was Gabe's first project, and he just crushed it, built it. It was amazing. And from there, man, he's graduated. He's now working for, I think it's Pixel Mafia, and he's doing concept art for Diablo, Halo, all those other play titles. It's like, oh, man.
You have me at Diablo. I'm a huge Diablo fan. Huge Diablo
too busy
fan.
making real money the big time projects.
Well, your title definitely has a extremely diverse cast. I will say that. How fun was and challenging at the same time was getting that together creatively.
It was great, man, because it's really just a culmination of stuff I wanted to work on, stuff I wanted to see. So I mean, I'm pretty visual when I write. I'm probably even more. I will say especially at that time, because this was years ago. I've tried to really crack down on my writing, but especially at that time, my writing the scripts is still very visual based, and I kind of just indicate this is kind of what they're saying, just and so it's more writing towards the artist because like I want you to draw this stuff. This is kind of what's going on, and then once I would get it back.
So do you actually break the panels down for the artist, or you do the Marvel way where you just do a script?
Yeah, on Sasqanaut was script. I broke it all down, which was great. Also bad. It's one issue where I wrote the wrong name for the character in the panel. It was like the very end, issue 3 or 4. I wrote the wrong character's name in the panel, and bless Gabe and HM2 Studio. They just took me at my word and drew exactly what I wrote, and it's just kind of, why is this person here? He's what? Like, what am I? And so I go back and look, oh, dude, I totally bumped. So I had to go, hey, you guys redraw this panel. It took way too long for me to actually realize that, unfortunately, but they were super cool and came back. And I paid them for the corrections, especially the time between I finished and when I finally left. But yeah, no, I broke it all down, and yeah, I rewrite, and I do, especially on that, I did a lot of rewrites once the art came in, and the final version, what you see in the issue is not what is really in the script when it comes to dialogue. I rewrote it crazy. The narrative caption, I kind of put more of Sasqanaut's thoughts and personality into it. That was not in the script initially. That all came later because I was like, man, it's missing something. I'm missing kind of this vibe I had in that first write-up of Page Origin story. Like it's missing something in there. So I kept working on it, trying to tweak the dialogue, tweak the script. Like it's getting closer, closer. Once I find out, well, what if I bring in the caption? And it's just like, oh, yeah, okay. Now we're cooking. Yeah, it proceeded from there, and ever since Sasqanaut, because I lettered the first 2 books too, and it's a massive pain because as much as I wrote and rewrote, then once we got the issue 3, I reached out to my buddy McLean, like, hey, just what would it cost for you to letter? Just so I can think about maybe getting up to it. And he was kind of deal good to refuse. Okay, and so he's over the letter book. Like, I got to make it easier on him because I can't do it. I do it myself.
Yeah.
he would hate me. Because I feel like this is crazy. So then I really kind of cracked like concentrating. Before he ever lettered it, I lettered myself real quick, just so I could visually see it. I'm very visual, and so I would do a real quick bad lettering job, print out pages, and I just write notes on the page by hand. It helps me figure out pacing better. Just for whatever reason, it clicks a lot better than I just do it in the computer when I have it on the page. I think it's so reminiscent of reading an actual book because I'll put together, I'll glue pages together, staples, so I'll kind of just make a whole book. So it's just like a comic book where it's black and white, color, as long as I can flip through it, and it just helps everything flow. So I would do that, fix my script, and send it to the client. Still probably go through minor paths.
Well, I will say it was an extremely fun read. Like the supporting cast itself is just fun in itself because I mean, like you get a hot four-armed Empress. Trax is really cool. I dug him. I will say you threw me for a loop with the engineer when she passed away. I was not expecting. I was expecting her to be like something ongoing, and then she died. And I was like, "What the fuck happened?" I mean, I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
So
well, you gotta kind of pull on those heartstrings, and it's one of those things, man. Because I wanted to do more still with her relationship with Captain Brenner. Like there was, again, one of the versions of that script. It goes into more depth, and
the dream world type deal.
Yeah, it shows more of everybody. But it's my goal in telling this comic is I was trying to go back to how comics were. Where you get an issue, you get a story, a complete story. So, like beginning, middle, and end. I made a point to get every single issue a complete, enjoyable event. And issues 5 and 6 is the two-parter, but I really crammed a lot to both issues just to like, I want to give people their money's worth because I personally, as a fan, was growing super tired of this was 4 or 5 issues worth of one issue of content.
Like, yeah, because 80s comics and 90s comics, or early 90s, every issue was what, 30 pages, 32 pages, or you get that 32-page spectacular, whatever. It's pretty common. Now that's almost a damn trade paperback.
Yeah. I mean, they've cut it to 20 pages. And so my issues averaged at 24 pages. Issue 2 was the shortest at 22 pages, but all the other issues were 24 pages, and then issue 7 or issue 6 was 31 pages. So I was like 1 page shy of the full 32, and I just couldn't fit it in there. But yeah, it got the point. I wrote a lot, and my buddy Austin, who was kind of my unsung editor for the first couple of issues, then eventually I corrected that and had him credited as one of the editors, because he totally deserved it. But even the first couple of issues, I write it, send it to him, and he'd go through it. He's like, "Yeah, this was cool, but this chunk of this scene with this character." He's like, "Yeah, you spend a lot of time with this character, and it's a cool scene, but the book's called Sasqanaut."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, man. So, I mean, I want to do a lot of stuff with the characters, and going into issue 4 and the dream world and all that, there's a lot of vignettes of different stuff for everybody, because I was going to go into everybody's dream, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, this is going to be a 2 or 3 part book if I do that, and I want to do a book. So Sasqanaut's the character. That's who I got to go with. So I had all kinds of stuff I want to do in that. And maybe one day.
Maybe we'll get a director's cut one day.
Yeah, it's never lost. It's never wasted. So.
Well, let me ask you this, and if it impedes upon a future issue that you got and don't want to share, that's fine. How did he become self-aware and so knowledgeable? You know, it doesn't really say a whole lot about that, but you just like, holy shit, he went from a Sasquatch in the woods, the Appalachian Mountains, to pretty, you know, like ballsy guy, and you know, like a great character. He's a wise guy, you know. So, how did he become so self-aware?
Well, the easy version, Space Race.
Okay.
It's there's some cool there's a cool unveil in the next issue,
Okay.
issue 7 that's coming. You'll get a little bit of research. Like, oh, that's
Peek behind the curtain, so to speak.
yeah. It's not. I think it's cool, so I don't want to say too much. But essentially, he goes from the creature to talking, conversing, whatever was one Space Race, because
Yeah.
it was the 60s. It's a space race. I'm like, hey, Fantastic Four can space race into invisible and rocks and fire and stretch. Like, he gets smart as well as transported across the universe. Why not, right?
Well, I mean,
And then
I found myself liking the female Russian Bigfoot far more than I should have.
yeah. Well, and that was one of the other things that was kind of my hint to what's going on, because we see in issue 3 she gets the brain worms and kind of starts translating everything for her. So everybody gets brain worms. I just don't show like, hey, guess what? Sasquatch getting a brain worm. Like, oh yeah, that happens. Everybody gets that because that's their apple fish or whatever. And I had a really fun idea that I'm probably never going to do, because I had this idea, oh yeah, we're going to go back to Earth, and that brain worm develops something more. Oh yeah, we got to get him in his head because it's going to make his head explode or something like that, because the brain worm on Earth, like the atmosphere, they don't jive. So hey, brain worm becomes this whole like thing. But I'm not going to do any of that because I don't really want to go back to Earth now.
I got you. I said, in some levels of that, the mystique actually adds to it as well. It's kind of like Wolverine. Like when he didn't have his origin, he didn't know everything. He was almost a cooler character sometimes. Having that level of questioning. But
yeah, because I read Origin. I've read it a couple times. I still don't know or care about anything that happened in that book.
yeah, James Howlett is nowhere near as cool or interesting a character as Logan is.
I didn't want to do an origin story. I mean, I enjoyed the MCU, but good grief, every movie was an origin story.
Yeah.
Then their sequels became origin stories. Like, I'm done. Let's move on. Let's get to the good stuff.
That is one of the fun things. Like you just dive straight in. Like it's balls in from the start. Like you're 2 pages in, it's like, oh, we're here.
And so the origin story was literally 3 pages, which was that initial 5-minute write up. Very, very few tweaks from what I initially did, and Tyler Kirkham drew that for me. And that was kind of the proof of concept. That was the first thing that was ever really officially done. And it was just like, yeah, this will get pretty rad. This will work. And he did that for me because I ended up helping him doing a kid's book that he and his wife did on Kickstarter several years ago. And kind of our thing, like, hey man, I got this thing I could use some art for. I'll color up this kid's book, and we just banged it out. It was awesome. He did a great job and made me look good. And got, hey everybody, it's it. So I included that into the trade paperback because it wasn't in the issues. That was a stretch goal that didn't get unlocked in issue 1 for the issue 1 campaign. So like, oh, people want the origin story. There you go. That's all you're gonna get. It's done in 3 pages.
But that's pretty cool, though. Before we close out, what kind of advice would you have for an aspiring creator, or like do's and don'ts for getting creator-owned world launched off the ground?
Just keep at it. I really, at this point in my career, I would encourage people to stay and focus on doing their own creator-owned stuff and try to make Kickstarter or Indiegogo, any of that work, and just go that route. There's really not much benefit in trying to be a hired gun because it is a super crazy competitive market, and as soon as you're sick and can't hit that deadline, you're probably going to lose your job. So if that means you got to go hold down a full-time job doing something else and then come home at night and rock and roll on your comic book and have a good time, like, you're going to be infinitely happier because you're going to be doing the story you want to make. You will draw, color, write the things you want to draw, color, or write because you have absolute control over it. That's not to say don't get advice. Like, definitely, if you can go to conventions or befriend other pros through social media, which is probably one of the best things about social media, is getting to know and work with other fantastic comic book creators and new creators.
So you have Savage Sasqanaut in trade paperback form now. So, and I do have the autographed edition. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Huge shout out to our sponsor, Zone Collectibles. Kevin Clady hooked me out with this right here. It's an amazing read. What is next from the world of West?
I am currently trying to fund a new Kickstarter right now. It's live on Kickstarter. It's Sky Sharks Remastered, #1. That is trying to reprint my very first creator-owned series I did, which was a 5-issue series that I put out through Anarch Press 15 years ago. It's been out of print for most of that time. So I am wanting to, with experience and hindsight, I want to go back, rework the pages, recolor, spruce it up, make it look even better, and reprint it as 3 oversized issues.
So we can't thank you enough. Well, we've probably held you longer than we should have today. But is there anything from the world that you would like to plug? You know, social medias or anything of this nature that you'd like to get out there for anyone?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. You can find me. It's Wes Hartman, or I've got my my Sasqanaut page, which is Sasqanaut, and then Cosmic Brute Studio is my comic book imprint, and my website is wes-hartman.com, and I have the Sasqanaut issues and the trade paperback available for sale through the website. And then, if you can go on Kickstarter and pledge for Sky Sharks Remastered #1, that would be fantastic. We just launched, and so we're slowly making our way to the goal. So hopefully by the April 20th is when it ends. So hopefully we'll hit that goal, and that'll come out, and we'll make some more comics from here.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. Like I said, we can't thank you enough, and we'd love to have you back again sometime. So
Absolutely.
if you're ever free again and you want to come talk to 2 assholes, we're here.
I'm around, man. I'm easy. I work from home, so I'm good. Whenever you're ready, need me, I'm here. Just let me know.
Thank you very much. We
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it, sir.
Get it.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around and catching that interview with Mr. Wes Hartman, the creator of Savage Sasqanaut, who I've been saying it right all along.
I have been butchering the shit out of it.
Well, and to be fair, hopefully everybody enjoyed that interview and you got some great stuff out of it. We are going to ask Mr. Hartman back on again in the near future. Unfortunately, as we were editing that interview before we came back here to finish the rest of the show, I did a little bit of editing on it, and unfortunately, a lot of the sound kicked out on my end, and I lost a good bit of it. You could tell Hassel could still hear because you could see him going along with him, but unfortunately, I could not, and my recording is the end we got. So
Cobra apparently has really shitty internet.
Hey, man, look here. I'm up in the northern hemisphere here, so you know.
We'll catch you some slack.
Yeah.
Wes may not, but I'll catch you a little slack.
Yeah. So, but we are going to ask him to come back on again sometime in the near future, and hopefully in just a few weeks, and we can maybe catch up some on what we did miss and some other. But make sure you go check out his page. He has an internet page, Savage Sasqanaut. You can pick up copies of the book and the trades there. He's got his Kickstarter for Sky Sharks going. And you can check out his Facebook at Savage Sasqanaut, and it might be under Wes Hartman as well, but you can check them out there.
He's extremely accessible through there.
Yeah, and a great guy. We really, really appreciate him coming on. And, you know, I with some of the technical issues I was having on my end, I missed a few things, and I could tell you could hear him hassle, but I heard him name drop a few names, like working with Jimmy Palomati and Paul Levis and stuff, and I really wanted to chime in, but I didn't want to interrupt, and I couldn't get my stuff to work right. So, but again, we're going to bring him back on and talk some more about some of those things. But with that, Hassel, we've kept people here long enough, and I have spent quite a bit of time trying to recover audio. So let's end this up because I do have an early flight in the morning. Cobra makes me fly commercial, so you know they make me go there at like 6 a.m.
Bastards.
So let's just jump straight to Nerd Out, Hassel. Yeah, for anybody who hasn't been here before, let's let them know what this is. This is where we ask random questions around the topics of the day. We have to respond with little to no prep time. And lately it's been no prep time because I've been smart enough not to send Hassel my agenda for the show with it on there. But with that, we'd love to hear your answer to the questions, or you expand on our answers if you want to in the comments. We'd love to hear that. And Hassel, I went first last time, so it's your turn.
And I'm prepared this week, so I'm good.
We'll see what your prepared is.
Here we go. The Mandalorian is running wild on Disney Plus. It's like Hulk of fucking mania, baby. So, which one character that hasn't arrived or been announced would you most want to see debut?
The one I most want to see that I think is going to show up on it or have some connection to it?
One that's not been announced or speculated or anything.
Oh, okay. Well, I had one that was speculated I was going to use, but since you put that caveat in.
Yeah, you can't throw Thrawn at us.
No, I wasn't going to throw Thrawn. I was thinking like Ezra Bridger from, which Thrawn was in there too, but Ezra Bridger from Rebels, because they showed the whales and the hyperspace, which was the last place you saw both Thrawn and Ezra in that cartoon series. Beyond that, I want to. Okay, I'll make fun of one of them I have heard, and this is not my answer, but have you seen that the guy who played Jar Jar Binks is actually going to be a Jedi?
I did.
And I'm glad for that for him, because I think he got the short end of the stick at the end of all that. But
he actually looks cool on this right here.
For a character that I don't think is going to appear, and there's been no speculation that I would love to see on it, I would love to see Ghost Yoda on there, because I'd like for them to learn that Grogu is actually a clone of Yoda or something instead of one of his species. That would be interesting.
So it was I really wanted to go with Jedi. That's the simplest and easiest. There's so many you would love to see just pop up. But then I was like, you know what? We got the Ahsoka series coming up, and I feel like we're going to really get some surprises, like with maybe finally get Force Ghost Anakin, things of this nature. Luke is apparently going to, I would assume, show back up in that. So I didn't go that route. I went off the beaten path, and very much in line with your first thing, I want to see Sith Lord Jar Jar Binks become canon. Because this son of a bitch, he had to be. Misa had to be an evil motherfucker. So that's where I'm going with this.
That would be interesting. I will say this: one of the best things I have seen in that show, and this it's kind of coming off of what you're talking about a little bit, but man, the personality they have given the droids in the show, like the only droids that had personality in the past was like 3PO, R2, and then maybe Chopper from Rebels and stuff. But the droids in this show have had so much personality. Even that little R5 unit he got was funny as crap.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go in there.
Yeah, I will say that my favorite droid of all of them, honestly, is from Rogue One. The former Imperial droid that the guy has. I loved that character there. But yeah, the droids on Mando have been great too. Yeah.
My question is a little bit different from yours. I kind of stuck with similar to what Wes created with the Savage Sasqanaut. I know he had kind of a different, a background and a way of picking that. But thinking about that, it's a mythological creature crossed over into the sci-fi genre, which is mythological fits under sci-fi, but it's like futuristic sci-fi kind of that he's crossed over into. So if you were doing something along those lines of a story, and you had a mythological creature of some sort, and you were going to cross them over with a different genre, what kind of story would you do? What would be your overall plot? What would the crossover look like?
I'm gonna go with the Hassel creator own project that I've kind of got cooking, and it would be a werewolf. And Warcloud the Direwolf will be coming at some point, just so you know.
Well, and sticking with that, we don't want to give away too many spoilers on that, so I will leave you at that with the answer. I kind of went the same route Wes did, but I said, what if we did dragons and said that they came
these balls across your face.
Terrible.
You can't take me nowhere.
No. But what if they came? What if they came from outer space, like they were an outer space species, and when they came to Earth, obviously Earthlings are scared of them. There's this big giant creature, breathes fire, roars, whatever. However, my twist on this story is, what if when they come to Earth, they're actually a peaceful, benign race who are scientific and they're anthropologists. They're coming to study humans, like humans going to live with apes. They're coming to do that, but the humans are so scared of them that they kill one, and they can't comprehend them because they can't understand their speak, even though the dragon is actually speaking intelligently. So you don't find out till you can see a progression of them constantly coming and getting killed, and then what you're seeing is actually a recap of these things happening. Every issue is a different story of a different dragon. It's a miniseries, and then the final issue is a futuristic setting where the dragon is there explaining it to humans because they finally figured out how to communicate with them. And they're actually explaining that you are the monsters of our bedtime stories all along because we come here to learn about you and you keep killing us.
See, I know you're not a Rick and Morty fan, so you don't know this. But there is a Rick and Morty episode that is dangerously close to what you're saying right there, but it's dinosaurs.
Oh, see, that was
the dinosaurs came back to Earth, and they're super fucking intelligent, and it winds up being a deal like wherever they're at, there's like a race of fucking asteroids that are like a heat-seeking missile to them, and they show up on these worlds and like advance them technologically wise, and the next thing you know, the asteroid gets there and wipes the fucking planet out after they leave, and they don't know it, and they're just going basically doing mass genocide.
So when I was thinking of the answer to this, and honestly, I've never seen Rick and Morty at all. I mean, I've seen
that's why
I've never seen a single episode.
While you were saying, I was like, oh shit, this is so close to that, though.
However, my first blush of this is I was going to say that the dinosaur bones that we found that from ancient Earth or whatever, as we've excavated in archaeological digs, that was going to be the ancestors of the dragons and the first anthropologists who came to learn about us, and they got killed off here too.
That's cool.
That's what keeps drawing the dragons to come back, because they know there's intelligent life here.
And that's another thing they've done on the Rick and Morty episodes. Like they go to different worlds or whatever, and like they put the dinosaurs together differently. So it's like even if you don't watch Rick and Morty, I highly recommend that one episode just so you can see your idea come to fruition in a comedical way, because it is like super fucking funny.
I might have to, because my whole thing with that was I like the idea of them being from space, but I want it to be a twist where they're actually not evil. We don't understand and don't know, so we keep killing them.
Well, it's like really cool because like Rick has a portal gun, but they're like, would you like us to fix your rudimental portal gun? And they're like, they upgrade his shit, and he gets pissed off because they're smarter than he is. So it's like a big, God complex with Rick and the dinosaurs after that. Dude, look at them. It's hilarious.
I will have to do that when I get home. But speaking of getting home, it's getting dangerously late for me to go to bed. So let's start closing out to get out of here. But before we do, let's give some shout out to some of our friends. So first of all, once again, and we apologize for the audio issues, but again, thank you very much, Wes, for coming on and speaking to us. And remember, everyone, check out his Facebook at Savage Sasqanaut. And on his Savage Sasqanaut page, you can pick up his trades as well as single issues. And don't forget about checking out his Sky Sharks Kickstarter. And keep your eyes peeled to his page and his Facebook for all news and updates there. Along with that, another one of our comic book creator friends, Mr. Daniel Garcia, creator of Zyber Ronin. Make sure you check him out at Facebook at Daniel Garcia and on Instagram at D Garcia Comics for all updates on Zyber Ronin and his dang universe. Our friend, Mr. Chris Daly, host of the Fuel by Weird podcast. You can find him on the Fuel by Weird podcast, wherever you find your podcast, and on his Instagram at Fuel by Weird. Check out all his fantastic reviews and news, and we're hoping to have him on the show with us here pretty soon in the near future, so be on the lookout here for more information about that. Check out our friend, content creator, and autism activist, Miss Mandy Lynn, a.k.a. Kushimama. You can find her on her Instagram at Kushimama and on YouTube at Doodle's Toy Report, and her new channel, The Collector Sector, which also does have an Instagram called The Collector Sector. I thought so last week, but I could not remember. But check out there. She's doing a lot of I think she's doing weekly episodes now with different members of the toy collecting community and toy photography community. And I got the chance to watch the first one from last week. I haven't had a chance to watch episode 2, which came out this past Tuesday. But make sure you check those out. They're pretty interesting. She has a lot of fun on there, and it's a pretty good time to watch that. Don't forget about our friend, Mr. August Aguilar from Strange Film Studios. Remember to keep an eye out for his newest projects. The Gift is the next one coming up, starring Miss Ginger Lynn, and looks pretty cool from what I've seen so far. Don't forget about our other friend in the industry, Mr. James B. Jefferson, creator of Warrior Island. Be sure to check out his webpage, warriorisland.com, for all the news about his upcoming Warrior Island movie, as well as new issues of the comic. And finally, last but not least, our extended Nerdy Manroom family member, Big Rob. You can find him on his channel of Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food.
Yeah.
I didn't know which one you were going to do this week. You can check out all of his drops of new unboxings and reviews, as well as his stories from life on the road with Big Rob. And remember, don't forget to go check out our sponsor, These Own Collectibles. You can find them on the internet at theseowncollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at These Own Collectibles, or in their store at 305 Main Street. Visit them for all your nerdy needs. Help them support the artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Don't forget to send well wishes and prayers out to Mr. Kevin Clady from there. We really appreciate that. And before we get to our stuff, one other of our friends that we've been talking about it for a couple weeks here, Foxfoot Crafts. Make sure you check them out. Help support their septic tank upgrade that they need to do. I think she's still doing the commission pieces, right?
Yeah.
The digital commission.
She was just at the Zone's 5-year anniversary. I apologize. She was doing sketches for free. She literally needs our help at this point. She was doing things for free this past Saturday. So it shows her love for the fan community. Let's give her some love back, guys.
You messed me all up when you went 5 foot. I'm like, now I want to make some kind of joke, but I don't know where I want to go with that. All right. So let me get back to
tongue-tied night.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, though, Hassel, tell them where they can find us as well.
You can find us on Twitter at Nerdy MR Show. You can find us on Instagram at the Nerdy Manroom Show. Facebook, Hassel Hutchison via the Nerdy Manroom Show. And absolutely, of course, we are here on the YouTube. We are on Roku TV at Southern Joy Media. So we're all over the place. Like, share, subscribe. And Monster, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the subscriptions here. We're dangerously close to that 250 mark, buddy.
I have not. I will be honest with you. I've been trying to keep up with getting all the stuff to the various channels and all. So I haven't looked at the subscription number at all. But I do know that once we hit 250, we do have your giveaway we're going to do.
We are dangerously close to it. So people like, subscribe, share. Mr. Whit Alexander, who is actually serving our country in Kuwait right now, who was generous enough to donate an H4 Tom Morga Return of Michael Myers mask. So, I mean, dude, it don't get much cooler than this for a free gift to like, subscribe, and share.
Awesome. And with that brings us to a close. So we're going to get out of here. But before we do, make sure you join us here next time. We're going to be looking at the upcoming WrestleMania program, hopefully along with a potential special guest. I don't want to spoil that just yet and throw it out there yet, but hopefully we'll have that here. Either way, we will be looking at WrestleMania. But until then, live nerdy and go boldly where no man or beast has gone before.
What you gonna do, brother?